Hello friends and welcome back to our PHP and MySQL course web 1002, and I'm your facilitator Usiku Kapikanya. And today we are moving a step further in our course. We are transitioning from the files that we created into the actual codes that we need. Okay, so what we are basically going to look at is building up user authentication systems. Our objective is to understand and build the three core components of a secure user authentication system. That is the register, login, and logout using PHP. This is our main objective. So there are smaller things that we are going to look at. We are going to break it down into small aspects that will help us run this particular course. So here is our lesson 1. We'll look at the registration process, and if you remember, we created a file called register.php. Register.php. This is the file we created last time when we met, and now today we want to build it. But before we build it, we need to understand some smaller components that are found in PHP. Some smaller components that are found in PHP. For HTML, I'll leave it to you. CSS, I'll leave it to you to design it, and I'll just give you the brief names of some CS codes so that you can be able to complete them. Okay, so now let us look at data submission. In a form, every form, its whole core purpose is to submit data somewhere. So now, our major concept we are going to focus in this lesson is that we want to look at how the browser talks to the server. Remember last time we looked at the three components in PHP to say we need to have a browser, we need to have a server, and we need to have a database. Then PHP can work out. So now, in this one, we are focusing on how the browser talks to the server. Our key term in this particular topic, which is introduction to data submission, is that of post request. Post request is our key term. Now, when we talk about post request is used in HTML. So the HTML form basically uses a method that we call post to securely send data to the server. So if you've not added post in your code, definitely it will not communicate to the server. It will not send the data you have to the server because the method has not been defined. So you initially need to define a method called post in order for data to be sent to the what? To the server. The same way you are using for Facebook when you want to log in your Facebook page. That form uses a post method to deliver a message to the server. So the PHP code itself, from the HTML point of view, then when you come to the PHP code, it will check out for one particular method for it to do what? To communicate and push in to the database. So these levels are very important. So a simple script of code is this one that I have indicated here. This is the simple method. If $, then the server, then you put angle brackets, request method is equal to post, is what the PHP will check. From the method you introduced in HTML, then the PHP will need to have this method described very well. So the moment it just checks, then it will be able to push in. So an example of a code or a script is this one that I have delivered, that I have indicated form method is post, and we know to say this particular piece of code is found in HTML, and highlights the name which we put in these spaces. Then attributes attributes in the field input are the ones that we are going to indicate or enter in those spaces between the speech marks. Examples of different attributes that we have: emails, phone numbers, and many others. They are different, they are a lot. So this is the simple piece of code that you can indicate on post method. Now let us look at input handling. Now data submission, we now know to say for the browser to send data to the server, it needs a post method. Very important. Let's move on now to the input handling and validation. So the major concept here that you need to focus on when you are dealing with PHP, especially on user authentication, is that we are going to look at receiving and checking the user data before processing it. User data is not supposed to be sent to another end or to the server before it is processed. It has to be processed first. So now this is the part where user data has to be checked. How is it defined? Is this user data part of this system? Is this user data existing in the database? So now the key term here is post super global. And when you talk about post super global, you define it, you Google it, you discover to say these are predefined attributes. These are predefined attributes that you need to focus on. Let us learn. So when we talk about predefined attributes, what comes in your mind? We've mentioned some examples of attributes that we enter. Think about it. So PHP uses the post array to access all form of data. It uses the post super global array to access all forms of data, emails, and many others. So for it to process something, before it does the processing, it needs to check. So the key process that we are focusing here is validation. It needs to know to say this data is valid somewhere. So it needs to communicate where data is stored. So the post super global is the one that helps us to check. So we must check the data for quality and security. For quality and security. So number one check that is done is that of password. Is the password matching? When it is checking or handling inputs, is the password matching? Number two, how is the minimum length of this particular string or this particular data? Is it 6 digits? Is it what? So when you look at the simple code, how it comes in, it will indicate to say the password is equals to 6. Then Ubuntu has entered 10 digits. So it will check to say, oh, this is not the correct data. Then the action that is performed at the end of it or after checking the data for quality and security, the action that is made is now, okay, data is failed, or okay, data is correct. Then if it's correct, it will now open, goes to the next level. But if it fails, it displays an error. So this is a simple piece of simple code, that line of code that is indicated. So div class, okay, div class alert danger, you close it. Then after that, if a person has entered wrong things, and basically your validation system detects to say this is wrong, then it will revert and close up the form, or return that form, or refresh it. on. Security and hashing the password, very important. In as much as you know, in most systems, we need to avoid the storage of plain text password. So the major concept here on hashing the password is the most critical step that you need to take when you are developing any system. The database should not by all costs store plain text. Why? Because it is the easiest. It is the easiest when some simple injections, SQL injections are made, then it will be very easy to get access to your security credentials. So now, the major concept in hashing the password, the reason why we hash the password is we don't want reverse engineering to take place. So the key term here is password hashing. So this term is used, or it simply means transforming a password into non-reversible or a scrambled string, the hash. So you enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but what is actually in the database is different. We're going to look at it. We're going to look at how this is done. What will be in the database is completely and totally different. So now, the example of putting up a hash security feature in our system, we use hash equals password hash, password 1, then password default. Now let us look at the meaning of this particular password default. So password default is the current, strongest, and recommended algorithm like Bacrypt or Argon2. So the resulting hash is what goes into the database. So when this algorithm is performed, the algorithm we call password default, when it is performed, hashing has done. Well, you enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as a password. When it is processed, the next thing it is that it will be hashed or converted into a different form, a recommended algorithm. Then that recommended algorithm is the one that will be pushed into the database. It will be pushed into the database, and that will be the password which will be stored. Such that even if a person does an SQL injection, there will be no issues to do with the reverse action. There will be no reverse engineering being performed. So now, after that password is pushed, going to the database, let us look at now the database insertion itself, the C include. So now, when we look at this particular tool, our focus is the issue to store user record securely in the database. After you've done the password hashing and other things, we need to have a secure way of storing them. So the secure way of storing them is what we call as the PDOs. So the prepared statements are key to any storage of of data in the database. So let us look at what this security feature talks about. So security is one prime factor in every database, very much important. So this security technique separates the SQL structure from the user data, preventing SQL injection attacks. So the PDOs helps to prevent SQL injection attacks, and we use the placeholders indicated in a question mark as a query. So let us look at how a simple piece of code is done in this particular session. So now you've seen it. So prepare statement with placeholders. This is what we are talking about. So now here is the part that inserts data into the database. So it will indicate to say insert into teachers the name, email, and password. We are looking at the user registration, name, email, and password. Then the values are these placeholders. These are the placeholders. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Then you close. This one is just a comment. Execute the statement, passing the secure data. That's all. And what it should execute is the following: name, email, and on the password is the hash. So this is the simplest way of creating a secured register.php file. Thank you for your time, and let's get into the actual code and write this piece of code quickly together. Then we'll call it a day. Right. So let's look at this piece of code. Okay, this is already open. So we'll do a quick development of our 2. Remember last time I mentioned that the CS is your piece to develop. It is your piece that you're going to look at yourselves. So now let's move on. So first things first, this is a PHP what? This is a PHP code. So we'll do PHP. Then what do we want it to require? We want it to require the header. Yeah, we're just doing it for the future quickly, or even if we've not defined the header, but we just want the headers. The header file is already created, so we want it to define the header. Okay, dot php. Then close the angle button. Then now we bring in our CS. Okay, some classes. Okay. Say we want it to row. Justify. This is our CS piece of code. Justify the content to the what? To the center. Okay. So the other class. Okay. Okay, so I'll pause the video, then I finish up the whole entire code. Then we look at the parts that we have just discussed. So I'm just going to look at the parts that we have basically discussed. But initially, this is the first background that we need to work on as we are dealing with this PHP code. Let's quickly move on. I'll pause the video for some few minutes for me to finish up this code. Alright, now back to our business. This is our simple PHP register code. This is how it is. This is what we are talking about. We talked about the first part, which is the the post method in HTML. This is the post method. What is it posting? The input text, the input text type, which is email, the input text type, which is password, again another input text type, which is the password verification. So this one is the confirm password, this one is the first entry of the password, email, and the full name. This is what we are talking about the method that this form is going to use is post. It ends somewhere there. So now after the post method has been used, we mentioned the issue of the PHP in data transmission, which is post super global, and the post super global is defined here. This is on the server side. Request the method post. This is what we were discussing, and the whole thing is tabulated here. Then the other thing is the password hashing. We want whatever password that will be entered here to be hashed, and this is the part of our security part of the password hashing. If you look at it, this is the password. It's supposed to be equal to 6 digits. Then we come here, the password should be hashed to password default and insert into teachers. So let us see how this comes up. When we present it. So I'm going to switch on the what's this? I'm going to switch on what? Okay, I'm going to switch on my XAMPP, my control panel XAMPP, which is now acting as our saver. Okay. Our XAMPP control panel. Okay, wait for XAMPP control panel. Okay, so the way we start this, we start what? After a few seconds, 5 or 6 seconds, then that's when you come in and start there, the MySQL database. Okay, so they have started. So we move on. I think we are going to use this one. We're going to run in our browser called Microsoft Edge. Okay. Microsoft Edge. Okay. So we are using our local saver. So we say local saver, which is the local host, okay, localhost slash. Our focus is our major focus is we want to look at contents in the super, what's that file? There's a Classroom Pro, and underscore pro, then register dot php. Okay. Okay, so there is a known field or issues to do with Classroom Pro. We can't be able to find the database called Classroom first of all, let's quickly create the database here. Remember, I'm using the PC that I had not put up that I had not installed the database in it. Let me check if the password the database is available. Okay. Why is it delaying? Okay, so I'm going to pause the video until it alright, so now we need to create a new database. We need to come on new, then we create a new database. We're going to call this database as Classroom Pro. So we create it, click on create. The moment it is done creation, we're just going to import the already the script that we have already, that we've provided for you, or that we created last time. We created this database script last time, so we're just going to import it. Okay, so we'll go to XAMPP. Okay, then we go somewhere here, and in the htdocs, in our folder, this is the script. Then we do import. Okay, so there's just one error. All these others have been worked on. I'm sure it's just the script of create password, which is in the same file, so we don't mind about it. Let's just forget about it. So let's try to run it. Let's refresh it. Okay. Boom. Our form has been created. This marks the end of our lesson for today, the first lesson. But we needed to try something. Let's see if the hashing is truly happening. So I'm going to indicate Tambusiku. Okay, Tambusiku Kapikanya. My email is no, I'm not going to use. Okay, I'll use the Gmail. Then we're going to use my password will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. That's my password. If you want, you can view it here. Then also 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Paste. Then I register. Oh, because there are certain things that we have not quickly finished. That's the reason why it's doing this. So let's not. I'm sure there are just a few components. When we look at PHP line number 17, we go in our system, we check PHP line 17. Okay, it is executing. Which one is this? Email, hash, and some other stuff. We'll look at debugging some other time. Don't worry. So let's just. I would want us to just have a view if this password has gone through. Let's see. Let's database. I want us to see it is there in the teachers, okay. So under teachers you have Gusiku as a name, Kapikanya email, then here password. This is what we mean by hashing. This is how the password is. This is how the password comes. This is the password. You can't even perform any reverse engineering. For today we end here. Thank you for your time, and I want you to finish up the remaining part of our course. Finish it up, then we'll get into the next lesson. And our next lesson is just going to cater on login process. So the login process, as we know, it is initiated by the index